Welcome to True Crime Case Files, where we uncover shocking true crime stories you've never heard of. In this episode, we take you to a seemingly ordinary neighborhood, where the bonds of friendship were anything but ordinary. Today, we explore the life and tragic death of a stay-at-home mom who found herself at the center of a tangled web of secrets, desires, and betrayal, a web that ultimately led to her untimely demise. Tina Bolland was a 42-year-old stay-at-home mom who lived in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. She was well known in her community as a friendly and sociable woman who was always willing to lend a helping hand. Tina was the kind of neighbor who remembered birthdays, organized block parties, and never missed a chance to volunteer at her children's school events. She lived with her husband, Michael Bolland, a 46-year-old insurance agent, and their two teenage children aged 16 and 15. In April 2014, Tina was at the peak of her involvement in the neighborhood. Tina was often seen driving her kids to practice in her blue Honda Odyssey, stopping by the local Starbucks for a caramel macchiato on the way. She was also active in her church, where she helped coordinate charity drives and bake sales. But Tina's life had another side, one that few knew about. Beneath her outward appearance as a devoted wife and mother, Tina was involved in a series of secret sexual relationships with other women in her community. These relationships were kept hidden from her family and most of her other friends. Tina was the belle of the ball in this secret circle, engaging in passionate sexual affairs with approximately a half-dozen other stay-at-home moms in her neighborhood. She enjoyed the thrill of these relationships, which gave her a sense of excitement and freedom that she didn't find in her bland suburban life. In the days leading up to her death, Tina was particularly excited about her new relationship with Hope Johnson, a 45-year-old woman who had recently moved into the neighborhood. Tina's friends noticed that she seemed happier than usual, but they had no idea of the secret life she was living. This hidden world, filled with desire and jealousy, would soon lead to a tragedy that would shock the entire community. On the morning of April 15, 2014, at approximately 8:30 a.m., Tina Bolland's lifeless body was discovered at the bottom of the stairs in her home in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. It was a typical spring morning, with the sun shining brightly and the sound of birds chirping in the trees outside. The discovery was made by Lisa De Angelis, Tina's close friend and neighbor, who had come over after not receiving any responses to her text and calls the night before. Lisa and Tina had a strong bond, often meeting up at the local Panera Bread for coffee and catching up on the latest gossip. That morning, when Lisa arrived at Tina's house, she noticed that the front door was slightly ajar. Concerned, she called out Tina's name as she stepped inside, but there was no response. As she walked further into the house, her heart began to race. The house was eerily quiet, with the faint sound of the TV playing in the background. When Lisa reached the staircase, she was met with a sight that would haunt her forever. Tina was lying at the bottom of the stairs, her body twisted in an unnatural position. She was wearing a light blue nightgown, and her hair was matted with blood from a cut on her lip. Lisa froze in shock, her mind racing to make sense of what she was seeing. After a few moments, Lisa snapped out of her daze and frantically dialed 911. Her voice trembled as she spoke to the operator, trying to explain what she had found. The 911 operator remained calm, asking Lisa to stay on the line until help arrived. Lisa could hardly keep her composure as she paced back and forth, her eyes never leaving Tina's motionless body. Within minutes, the sound of sirens filled the air as emergency responders arrived at the scene. Lisa was visibly shaken as paramedics rushed into the house. She stepped aside to let them work, her hands trembling as she watched them assess Tina's condition. Despite their efforts, it was clear that Tina was already gone. The paramedics confirmed that Tina was dead, and Lisa collapsed into a chair, tears streaming down her face. The tragedy of Tina Bolland's death had just begun to unfold, leaving a community in shock and searching for answers. The Rio Rancho Police Department arrived quickly at Tina Bolland's home on April 15, 2014, around 8:45 a.m., just minutes after Lisa De Angelis called 911. The first officers on the scene were Detective Martina Lopez, a seasoned investigator known for her sharp instincts, and Officer James Carson, a young patrolman with 2 years on the force. As they entered the house, they were met with the unsettling sight of Tina's body at the bottom of the stairs. Detective Lopez immediately took charge, instructing Officer Carson to secure the scene and make sure no one else entered the home. The staircase where Tina was found was carpeted with beige walls that showed no signs of a struggle. Tina's body was lying in a twisted position, her head turned awkwardly to the side. A small pool of blood had formed under her head, but the scene was relatively clean, with no obvious signs of a violent altercation. The detective carefully examined the area around Tina's body. The staircase was steep, with wooden railings that seemed solid and well-maintained. Lopez noted that Tina was barefoot, and there was a noticeable absence of anything that could have caused her to trip. The nightgown Tina was wearing was slightly torn at the hem, but there were no visible signs of a fight. As she continued her inspection, Lopez's eyes were drawn to a few details that seemed out of place. Tina's phone was found halfway down the stairs, its screen cracked, as if it had been dropped during a fall. But there was something odd about the position of Tina's body. It didn't match the typical pattern seen in accidental falls. The angle at which she had landed raised immediate red flags for the detective. The paramedics who had already confirmed Tina's death stepped back as the police continued their investigation. Detective Lopez ordered a full forensic sweep of the house. She wanted to ensure that every possible piece of evidence was collected. The team used luminol to check for any hidden traces of blood, and fingerprint powder was dusted on the stair railings and nearby surfaces. As Lopez observed the scene, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this than met the eye. Her instincts told her that Tina's death might not be the tragic accident it first appeared to be. The lack of defensive wounds, the strange position of the body, and the eerie stillness of the house all pointed to something more sinister. With this in mind, the investigation would move forward with a closer look at those closest to Tina, beginning with her husband and her friends. Lisa De Angelis, 39, was the first person police turned to in their investigation. Known in the neighborhood as a nurturing and caring individual, Lisa had a reputation for being a devoted friend, especially to Tina Boland. They were often seen together at local spots like Panera Bread, and their children played together frequently. But as the police began to dig deeper, they uncovered a relationship between Lisa and Tina that went far beyond friendship. During her initial interrogation, Lisa appeared shaken but cooperative. Detective Martina Lopez, who was leading the investigation, noted Lisa's nervousness. She fidgeted constantly, her hands trembling as she answered questions. At first, Lisa described her friendship with Tina in typical terms, talking about their shared activities and the closeness they had developed over the years. However, as the questioning continued, it became clear that there was much more to their relationship. Under pressure, Lisa admitted that she and Tina had been involved in a secret sexual relationship for several months. The revelation stunned the detectives. Lisa described the relationship as passionate but complicated. Tina had confided in her, revealing that she was unhappy in her marriage and found comfort and excitement in their affair, and that Lisa made her feel like, quote, a Disney princess. But recently, things had taken a turn for the worse. Lisa explained that Tina had started to pull away from her, becoming increasingly distant. Tina had met a new neighbor, Hope Johnson, and had quickly developed a sexual relationship with her. Lisa confessed that she felt jealous and hurt, and she and Tina had argued about it several times, especially after Lisa had caught Hope and Tina having sex in her daughter's bed. Just a few days before Tina's death, Lisa had confronted her, telling Tina that she couldn't continue their relationship if she was seeing someone else. The police were intrigued by Lisa's admission. Jealousy was a powerful motive, and Lisa's emotional state raised suspicions. But when asked directly if she had anything to do with Tina's death, Lisa firmly denied it. She claimed that their argument was heated, but not violent. According to Lisa, she left Tina's house that evening upset, but never imagined it would be the last time she saw her friend alive. Lisa's interrogation left detectives with more questions than answers. Her jealousy was evident, and her connection to Tina placed her squarely under the microscope. But without concrete evidence, they couldn't make an arrest. The investigation would have to continue, with detectives looking closely at the other people in Tina's life who might have had a reason to harm her. Hope Johnson, 45, was the second person the police turned to in their investigation. Hope had recently moved to Rio Rancho from Atlanta, Georgia, just 6 months prior to Tina Boland's death. On the surface, Hope appeared to be a polished and professional woman. She was a real estate agent known for her sharp business acumen and poised demeanor. Her arrival in the neighborhood had caused a bit of a stir, with many of the local moms curious about the new resident. Hope's relationship with Tina had developed quickly. Neighbors noticed that the two women were often together, sharing private moments at local spots like the Starbucks on Southern Boulevard. They frequently texted each other, and there were whispers that their relationship might be more than just friendship. When Detective Martina Lopez questioned Hope, she maintained a calm and composed exterior, but there was an underlying tension that the detective couldn't ignore. Hope initially downplayed her relationship with Tina, describing it as a friendly connection formed through shared interests and neighborhood activities. However, when pressed, Hope admitted that their relationship had become intimate. Hope described Tina as someone who was charming and fun to be around, but also very persistent. She claimed that Tina had made the first move, DM her naked pictures, and suggesting they take their friendship to, quote, a place beyond your wildest dreams. At first, Hope was hesitant, knowing that Tina was married, but eventually she gave in to the excitement of their secret affair. Despite the close bond they shared, Hope insisted that she had no reason to harm Tina. She revealed that Tina had recently begun expressing more serious feelings for her, even hinting at leaving her husband, Michael, to be with her. But this level of commitment made Hope uncomfortable. She had only just settled into the neighborhood and was dealing with her own marital issues. The last thing she wanted was to be entangled in a scandal. Hope's calm demeanor began to crack when detectives asked about the night of Tina's death. Hope claimed she was at home with her husband, but there was something in her voice that made the detectives doubt her story. Text messages retrieved from Tina's phone showed that Hope and Tina had been in contact late into the evening, and some of the messages suggested tension between them. There were even videos of the two having sex, which Hope had shared with other soccer moms in a way that flaunted their relationship. Though Hope denied any involvement in Tina's death, her connection to the victim and the underlying jealousy she harbored made her a key suspect in the investigation. The police would need more evidence to either confirm or clear her of suspicion. Michael Ballin, 46, was the third person the police focused on in their investigation. As Tina Boland's husband, Michael was naturally a person of interest. Michael worked as an insurance agent, a job that kept him busy and often on the road. Neighbors described him as a quiet and somewhat distant figure, rarely seen at community events or social gatherings. He seemed to prefer spending his time away from home. And it was common knowledge that his relationship with Tina had been strained for years. When Detective Martina Lopez and her team interviewed Michael, he appeared stoic and detached, a stark contrast to the emotional turmoil surrounding Tina's death. He admitted that his marriage to Tina had been rocky for some time. They had grown apart, with Michael spending more and more time on business trips or simply avoiding being at home. I needed to get away from that awful woman, Michael said during the interview, his words carrying a bitterness that raised red flags for the detectives. Michael claimed he had no idea about Tina's secret sexual relationships with other women. He insisted that he was completely unaware of her affair with Lisa DeAngelis and was shocked to learn about her involvement with Hope Johnson. However, the detectives couldn't help but wonder if Michael's ignorance was genuine or if he was hiding something. The night of Tina's death, Michael told the police he had been out of town on a business trip in Los Angeles. He provided the names of colleagues who could verify his whereabouts, and at first glance, his alibi seemed solid. But there was something about Michael's demeanor that didn't sit right with the detectives. He was too calm, too measured, and his lack of visible grief made them suspicious. The investigation into Michael's possible motive revealed that he had a lot to lose if his marriage to Tina ended in divorce. Tina had inherited a significant amount of money from her parents, and if they divorced, Michael would likely lose access to that wealth. Moreover, there were rumors that Michael had been seeing other women and even some men during his frequent business trips, adding another layer of complexity to the case. Despite a strong alibi, Michael remained on the police's radar. His distant relationship with Tina, his financial concerns, and his possible infidelity all pointed to a potential motive. The detectives knew they needed to dig deeper into Michael's life and alibi before they could rule him out as a suspect. On April 18, 2014, 3 days after Tina Boland's death, a significant breakthrough came in the form of new evidence. It was a cool, overcast morning in Rio Rancho, and Detective Martina Lopez was reviewing the case files when she received a call from the forensic team. They had discovered something unusual in Tina's home, a small but telling detail that had initially been overlooked. The new evidence was a scuff mark on the wall near the bottom of the stairs where Tina had been found. The mark was faint, but it suggested that something, or someone, had made contact with the wall during the fall. Forensic experts used advanced techniques, including 3D imaging, to analyze the mark. They concluded that it was consistent with the sole of a shoe, indicating that Tina might have been pushed or tripped rather than having fallen accidentally. This discovery was a turning point in the investigation. The scuff mark suggested foul play, and Detective Lopez knew they had to revisit the crime scene with fresh eyes. The forensic team also found traces of skin cells under Tina's fingernails, which were sent to the lab for DNA analysis. This led the police to consider that Tina might have fought back against her attacker. With this new evidence, the detectives intensified their focus on the three main suspects: Lisa DeAngelis, Hope Johnson, and Michael Bowland. They brought each of them back in for further questioning, this time armed with the knowledge that Tina's death was likely no accident. The discovery of the scuff mark and the DNA evidence under Tina's nails suggested that she had struggled with someone before her fatal fall. The police also re-examined the text messages on Tina's phone, paying closer attention to the exchanges she had with Lisa and Hope in the hours leading up to her death. The messages hinted at tension and jealousy, particularly between Tina and Lisa. These messages, combined with the new physical evidence, pointed to a possible confrontation. As the investigation progressed, Detective Lopez felt they were closing in on the truth. The new evidence gave the team a clearer picture of what might have happened that night. Tina's death was beginning to look less like a tragic accident and more like the result of a heated altercation. The police were determined to find out who was responsible, knowing that the scuff mark on the wall and the DNA under Tina's nails could be the key to solving the case. Hey, true crime case solvers interested in more real-life murder mysteries, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. And do you have any thoughts about this case or have a case of your own you'd like us to investigate? Leave us a comment. Stay safe, true crime case solvers. On April 20, 2014, the investigation into Tina Boland's death took a decisive turn. The DNA analysis from the skin cells found under Tina's fingernails came back with a match: Lisa DeAngelis. This discovery, combined with the scuff mark on the wall near the stairs, led Detective Martina Lopez to believe that Tina's death was not an accident but a homicide. Lisa DeAngelis, 39, was a stay-at-home mom known for her nurturing personality. However, beneath her calm exterior, she harbored deep insecurities and fears of losing the people she loved. Tina Boland was at the center of these fears. While their sexual relationship had been the most passionate one of their lives, it was also fraught with jealousy and tension. When Tina started having sex with their new neighbor, Hope Johnson, Lisa felt threatened and betrayed. On the night of April 15, 2014, Tina and Lisa had a heated argument at Tina's home after Lisa caught Hope and Tina having sex. The argument escalated quickly, with emotions running high. Lisa, in a fit of jealousy and desperation, pushed Tina during the argument. The push caused Tina to lose her balance and fall down the stairs, hitting her head on the way down. The scuff mark on the wall was from Tina's shoe as she tried to regain her balance. The detectives pieced together that Tina had fought back, scratching Lisa in the process, which explained the skin cells under Tina's nails. After realizing what had happened, Lisa panicked. She left the scene, hoping the fall would be ruled an accident. But the physical evidence told a different story. On the morning of April 21, 2014, the police moved to arrest Lisa DeAngelis. Detective Lopez, along with a team of officers, arrived at Lisa's home. Lisa was visibly shaken when the police informed her that she was under arrest for the murder of Tina Boland. She didn't resist but appeared in shock, as if the reality of her actions had only just hit her. As she was led away in handcuffs, Lisa muttered that she never meant to hurt Tina. She just wanted her back. The arrest sent shockwaves through the neighborhood. Tina's family, especially her husband Michael, was devastated by the news. They had lost a wife and mother, and now they had to come to terms with the fact that her death was the result of a senseless act of jealousy. Michael, who had been cleared of any wrongdoing, expressed his disbelief that someone so close to Tina could do something so terrible. The trial of Lisa DeAngelis for the murder of Tina Boland began in late October 2014 at the Sandoval County Courthouse. The case had garnered significant media attention, with local news outlets like KRQE and the Albuquerque Journal covering every development. The courtroom was packed with spectators, including many of Tina's friends and family members who were eager to see justice served. The prosecution was led by Assistant District Attorney James Wallace, a 45-year-old seasoned prosecutor known for his tenacity in the courtroom. Wallace argued that Lisa DeAngelis had acted out of intense jealousy, leading her to push Tina down the stairs during a heated argument. He presented the physical evidence, including the scuff mark on the wall and the DNA analysis of the skin cells found under Tina's fingernails. Wallace emphasized that Tina's death was not an accident but the result of a deliberate act of violence. On the other side, the defense was handled by public defender Karen Michalowski, a 38-year-old attorney known for her compassionate approach to her clients. Michalowski argued that Lisa's actions were not premeditated and that the push was a result of an emotional outburst rather than an intent to kill. She portrayed Lisa as a woman who was deeply in love with Tina and had simply lost control in a moment of overwhelming emotion. Michalowski pleaded with the jury to consider Lisa's remorse and the fact that she had no prior history of violence. Throughout the trial, Tina's family watched with a mix of grief and anger. Michael Bowland, Tina's husband, struggled to hold back tears as he listened to the details of his wife's final moments. The impact of Tina's death on her family was clear, and their presence in the courtroom served as a reminder of the real human cost of the crime. After several days of testimony and evidence presentation, the jury deliberated for only a few hours before returning with a verdict. On November 3, 2014, Lisa DeAngelis was found guilty of second-degree murder. The judge sentenced her to 20 years in prison, a sentence that many in the courtroom felt was too lenient given the circumstances. The verdict brought some closure to Tina's family, but the pain of losing her would never fully heal. For Lisa, the sentence marked the beginning of a long journey of reflection and regret. The trial and its outcome left a lasting impact on the Rio Rancho community, a stark reminder of how quickly love can turn to tragedy. After the trial, life in Rio Rancho slowly returned to normal, but the community was forever changed by the events surrounding Tina Boland's death. For Tina's family, the aftermath was a mix of sorrow and adjustment. Michael Bowland, now a single parent, focused on rebuilding his life and caring for his children. He continued working as an insurance agent, but his once quiet demeanor became even more reserved. Michael found solace in his work and spending time with his children, who were struggling to cope with the loss of their mother. Lisa DeAngelis, after being convicted of second-degree murder, began serving her 20-year sentence at the New Mexico Women's Correctional Facility. Her life in prison was marked by isolation and reflection. The once active community member now faced a daily routine behind bars. Lisa's trial and conviction were covered extensively by local news outlets like KRQE, and her case became a cautionary tale about the consequences of unchecked jealousy and emotional turmoil. For Hope Johnson, the new neighbor who had been a suspect in the case, life went on with a mixture of relief and continued anxiety. She moved away from Rio Rancho shortly after the trial concluded, seeking a fresh start in a new city. Her reputation in the neighborhood had been tarnished, despite being cleared of any wrongdoing, and she felt it was best to leave behind the memories of the past year. The impact of Tina Boland's death and Lisa DeAngelis' trial extended beyond the immediate circle of those involved. It served as a sobering reminder of how personal relationships and emotional conflicts can escalate into devastating outcomes. The case highlighted the importance of addressing and managing emotional issues before they spiral out of control, leaving a lasting mark on the community and those who lived through it.